It's Daniel Levy with DKLEVY, and I'm here with Katie Linkous. And Katie and I have known each other for the last couple of years. We had the privilege of working with Katie and her team on the Norwood project here in Knoxville.
We have a lot of investment experience, a lot of rehab experience, no development experience. And so really we're looking for not just an architect for the design plans, but someone to really hold my hand through the process and help us get that project done.
The first thing we want to do is go see the project. And, we got to go see this old motel, and we've been in some rough projects. This one needed a lot of love. And we knew right from the get-go it was going to be a challenge because we had an existing building that didn't meet code and was somewhat collapsing and had people living in there and starting fires. And we also had the budget constraints and the things that we knew to make it a real project that we were going to have to work through together. And so I think knowing that it's going to be a challenging project just from a code and drawing and design perspective, we knew the relationship would have to mesh well.
What we do is take, C-class, even D-class, and try to renovate it, repair it, and keep it affordable. That was my initial intention with this project. But through your guidance and expertise, realized really quickly that was actually going to make it less affordable. And so we switched gears and went down the path of tearing it down and building something that really is safe and affordable, hopefully, for the community.
Sometimes it's like bad, we feel like we're the bearer of bad news. We look at a project, we're filtering it through the lenses of all of our previous project experience. And a lot of times a client will come to us and say, Daniel, I've got this building, we've already got it framed. We've already got 10% of the plumbing's already done, so there's dollars there, and there are dollars. But it's hard to understand the sequencing of construction and how an existing project can slow the building down if there's not enough value there. We had a lot of wrestling back and forth on designing case studies. We had the building department out there to get their feedback from a code perspective. And ultimately it was decided that, this building is better to start with a blank slate and have an actual schedule, and we can buy out the job and work with the contractor to know what we're kind of getting into.
Yeah, I think I probably knew deep down that was the right thing to do, but I was hoping it wouldn't be where we landed. But, you very gently led me there, and it definitely was the best outcome.
So I think one of the things, once we realized that, okay, we're going to take this building down, there's demo costs, there's other things that aren't in the budget now that we're starting with a blank slate. So we knew we had to keep our square footage down. We had to keep our costs down. And so when you're looking at the type of project we're doing, typically with multifamily or a flexible space, we're trying to create a building with dwellings that you could use for multiple different purposes, but it also had to be safe and it had to be extremely well thought through from a cost per square foot perspective. So every piece of it had to be adding value. Usually we would have like an interior corridor or a set of breezeways, but what we had to do was we had to stack everything pretty efficient units, which were definitely an improvement from what was there. Yeah. Still pretty compact, but everything that you would need, but also by bringing them back to back, eliminating the corridor, pushing the breezeway outside the building and only having 2 sets of stairs, we were able to reduce the under roof square footage and then ultimately bring the cost down and keep it safe. And that was important in the area to give a new perception for this property.
Right.
Was that, you can see all the entry points, you can see access to every entry door, and someone could live there for a short term or long term and feel safe.
I mean, the overwhelming feedback we get, even though we kept the square footage down for the budget, is that it's spacious. I mean, there's full kitchens, the ceilings are tall, you walk in and everybody that walks in is like, wow, this is a lot bigger than I thought it would be. The bathrooms are really large. So I think even meeting that budget need, the design was so good because it still created a very spacious environment for somebody.
Yeah, and I think those are some of the cheats that we were able to do when we were looking through that budget analysis is, okay, how much more is it going to be for an extra foot of ceiling height? This is a lot of airspace. We've got it's still the same amount of cabinets. It's still the same amount of flooring and things like that. So we were able to do some higher doors and we were able to do a little bit bigger windows, and, every unit, you kind of have this door and glass entry wall that brings in a lot of natural light, yet you walk in and it is spacious for what it is. So it's not your typical 300 square foot hotel box, with a 6-foot ceiling in the bathroom with the HVAC unit in there.
Right.
And then, so we kind of broke the mold on some of that, and without breaking the budget, because we were using it where we could in some of those areas. You've seen the estimates. I mean, Knoxville is short of housing. Some studies say 30,000, not just for permanent housing, but there's also this flexible housing that I think this project addresses very well. So why don't you share some of how this is addressing that need?
The needs in Knoxville are changing, I think. With the growth comes lots of people moving into the area. And so there's absolutely still a need for long-term conventional housing, but a great need for midterm or shorter term leases. And we're able to provide that here. And so we have a range of overnight stays for football games that are still very affordable. I mean, our nightly rate at times is, $56 a night for a nightly stay. And then we have midterm leases. So we've got travel nurses that are there. We have contractors coming in, and we're able to do, a monthly or a weekly, even we just did a weekly lease, really trying to meet that need across the board.
No, it makes sense. It seems like with the studio layout versus say a 1 or 2 bedroom, it allows a lot more flexibility because you're not having to get that higher dollar amount.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So as I mentioned, I had zero development experience and ideas, but I didn't really know how to execute those or what steps needed to be taken. The city is fantastic to work with. We've done a lot of projects with them even since this one, but navigating that can be daunting your first time, especially ground up construction. And so, Daniel and your team, you were always answering my questions, giving me guidance, being okay with me not sure what I wanted to do next, and giving those answers. And I think we've talked about how important, and you kind of hit on this in an earlier conversation, that a lot of people think about an architect as just being the person who gives you the design plans and you get a pretty building at the end of it. But we couldn't have gotten from drawings to building without your team and your guidance and connections and putting meetings together and relationships. So very grateful.
Every project, we always say this, is it takes such a team between you as being a client and owner and the contractor, the design team, and we just like to quarterback that and bring everybody together, and it takes everybody working together. And so it's been great working with you on this project. We look forward to many projects ahead and facilitating that and doing a lot of work together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Katie.